Okay, you want to do what?
Cross-examine
Yes.
Mr.
Who?
Sibia
Yeah.
on the contents of the statement that he made before Colonel Mboto.
Or the statement.
Yes, that
Which
was
he
made.
made?
That okay, Exhibit GG, let me say the contents of Exhibit GG, because he is not the author of such statement.
Yeah, but fine. So you're not referring to FF.
Maybe I'm mixing up the...
Because you can't refer to the contents of the alleged confession before.
It's FF, my lord.
Hello?
It's indeed Exhibit FF, yes.
No. There's no law like that. The law is clear. They only test the contents of an alleged confession, which the court has already ruled that it is admissible. And the government of testing that is where an accused person says, the contents of this confession are not mine. I was told by the police to say this and that and that and that and that. Are you with me?
Exactly, my lord. That is the point. He did not make such a statement.
No, you're not listening.
Yes.
I haven't ruled on that confession.
Indeed so.
FF.
Yes.
Yeah.
Can
So
I proceed
your
to...
application is premature.
Yes, can I proceed just to finish my application?
Okay, fine. Let's hear you.
Yes, God, please.
Which case were you going to quote me?
State versus Libone.
State versus
Libone.
Lebone. Fine.
Yes. And I just want to get the citation. It's 1965, Volume 2, SA, on page 837. It was a decision of the appellant division by then.
AD.
Yes.
What do they say?
When a trial judge adjudicates upon the admissibility of a confession as a separate issue, and when the accused himself alleges that the contents of his confession are false and that they were submitted by the police, and this fact is used as part of his case that he was forced by the police to make a statement, then the prosecutor has the right to cross-examine the accused on the contents of the confession to show that the accused himself was the source of the contents and not the police as alleged by him. The cross-examination is then undertaken with the object of attacking the credibility of the accused, a relevant matter, not in order to prove that the contents are true.
Yeah, you've misread that case. That case is obvious. It says the contents. It's what I was telling you. The contents of the confession. I don't have a confession which has been ruled by myself to be admissible. And I've never had sight of it. So that case refers to an exigency where a ruling has been made in favor of the state. And an accused person contends that the contents of that confession are not his. They were foretold to him, or the police gave him that version. Then you are at liberty, after that ruling, if the ruling has been made, to use that decision. And in any case, that decision, when you use it, it's because the court, even after the confession, alleged confession, has been ruled to be admissible, there's a possibility that the contents of that confession could say anything. I don't know. You could say, oscillate, vivivic, globule, vivivic. I don't know what he's saying. So the court also has to read the contents to determine whether, in fact, those contents are a confession or not. Are you with me?
I understand, my lord.
Yeah, so that question is disallowed, sir. The application, rather.
I'll move to other aspects.
Who are the judges there? I know that case. 65.
Judge Holmes,
Who's that?
it's Judge Holmes, Vessels and
Holmes.
Yes,
And who?
Vessels and Holmes.
Yeah, fine. That's 1965.
Yes.
After the first constitution and the second constitution, the law is changed. Okay. That's
Is it good?
1965.
Is a good piece.
Right. 1983, sorry, yeah, 1993 and 1996, the law is completely changed. And that's why I'm saying presently the law says what I'm telling you now. Okay, thanks. Continue.
Is a good piece. Now, you testified that when you arrived at Albertine, you find the members of the TRT there.
Uthe mawufika eAlbertine uthole amaphoyisa we-TRT.
Bangifika eAlbertine awuthi ngithola amaphoyisa ngibone sekukhona namaphoyisa eTRT.
Not that I found them there, but I noticed that they were there.
Did you interact with them?
Uye wakhulumisana nabo?
Cha,
No.
Did they come where you were seated or you were standing?
Baye beza labo ume khona noma labo uhleli khona.
mangikulela office babelokhu bephithizela nje phambi kweminyango lapha ya.
Whilst I was in that office, they were just moving around next to the door.
Is it something that is unusual to find members of the South African police at the police station?
Into engajwayelekanga nawo ukuthi uthole amaphoyisa e-police station.
Okwenza ukuthi ngikhulume ngeTRT yingoba mase bengena emotweni sebengifaka emotweni nawo ajoyina leyo convoy emoto.
What made me to talk about TRT is that when I was put in the police vehicle, they also joined that convoy.
How did you see them?
Ubabone kanjani?
Imoto ekulandelayo uyakwazi ukuyibona.
The vehicle behind you, you are able to see it.
There was evidence in this court by the person who took you those photographs that I showed you yesterday, saying that he was following the car that you and Colonel Hadebe were traveling in.
Kunobufakazi obuzilela enkantolo ngalo muntu bekakuthatha leza izithombe ebazibonise zona izolo kuthiwa lo muntu uthe yena wayekade landela le moto lebe wena no Colonel Hadebe nihamba ngayo.
Angeke ngize ngikhulumele lo muntu ukuthi uthini kodwa mina ngithi okwenzakalayo le moto yayiza ngemuva kwethu.
I would not speak on what he said or on his behalf. However, what I would say is that that vehicle was following us.
And then that aspect was not challenged when he said he was following the vehicle that you and Hadebe were in.
Lolo daba ngaleso sikhathi ekhuluma yena athi wayekade elandela le moto ebekade wena no Hadebe nikuyo. Ayizange idingidwe noma ayizange iphikiswe ngaleso sikhathi.
Ngisacela ungiphindela angizwisisi kahle.
Lolu daba alikhulumile yena lokuthi ubekade elandela imoto lebekade wena no Hadebe nikuyo. Ayizange iphikiswe ummeli wakho ngaleso sikhathi yena aqeda ukuyikhuluma la enkantolo.
Ngamtshena ummeli mhlapha kezwanga kodwa ke mina ngoba ngila eboxini ila engizokhuluma khona konke okwenzakalayo. Ngizele khona ukuzosho ukuthi kwenzakalani ngalela langa ngoba ngila eboxini.
I told my advocate, my lord, perhaps he's the one that did not hear or understand what I told him. However, I am here to state everything that happened.
So now do you see the implications of that instruction being carried forward?
Manje uyabona ukuthi le nto beyibaleke kangakanani.
ngicabanga ukuthi ibaluleke kakhulu ngoba nje ngireza la icourt ngizosho vele izinto ezibalulekile.
Yes, I believe it was important, and that is why I am also here to state what is important.
And do you see now the difficulty that we find ourselves in? Because that very part of the testimony that you are giving the court today was never put to the photograph.
Manje uyabona futhi nobunzima osizithola sikubo ngenxa yokuthi leyo nto ewikhulumayo ayizange itshelwe lo muntu lo bekathwebula ithombe.
Nkosikatolo, mina okwami ukuthi ngize ebhokisini ngizosho ukuthi kwenzakalani ngalolu suku loliya.
My Lord, for me,
ngikhulumela ukuthi omunye umuntu wathini noma utheni.
as for me, what is important is that I am at the witness stand to come and testify on what happened. I will not be able to state on what someone had said.
And that someone, are you referring to the state witness or you're referring to your attorney?
Uma uthi omunye umuntu ukuthi utheni, usho ubani, usho ufakazi wombuso noma ummeli wakho.
Ngisho ukuthi lo afuna ukuthi ngifakazele yena noma ngihambisana nenkulumo yakhe ngithi mina ngizosho okwenzakala kimi ngalolu yalanga.
I am referring to a person that the state wishes me to speak on their behalf. I am here to state what has happened.
Say, there's someone speaking on your behalf.
Kunomuntu okumele.
May I interject, my Lord, by raising this objection? The line of questioning by my colleague to this witness is not fair. In fact, the state has to prove that a pointing out was made lawfully and the state has complied with the requirements. My Lord, there is no dispute in relation to the conveyance of accused number of the witness from police station to Vosloorus. As to who was escorting the person that was conveying the suspect together with Colonel Radebe does not amount to any element of pointing out if there's no dispute in terms of conveyance, my Lord.
Mr. Slandi, what's your response?
My Lord, it has a bearing. It must be done freely, and then he said it before this court. The presence of those gentlemen scared him when he saw them. So them being there, wherever that they were going, it's going to even scare him even more. And it is our contention as the state that they were not there.
Yeah, the question is allowed because 217 says it must be done free and voluntarily and free. Just recite the recitation.
Is the court, please?
Recite it. It was done free. It must be done free and voluntarily without
undue influence.
when you are in your
Sound
sober.
and sober senses.
That's it. Now, if there is a dispute about the fact that the witness, the state says there was no coercion in the taking of the photographs, in the pointing of the alleged areas. I don't know why they were pointing them. Then the conveyance towards that locality is critical, more especially where, in my view, there is evidence by the accused here that he was assaulted before they went there. Now, the critical question, according to Sibande, is the version which he says was put was that the photographer, after Radebe and Mr. Sibiya had got into their grey Volkswagen sedan, they were followed by the photographer. And it was Sibiya, Radebe, and the driver. And the photographer was following the car which was being driven immediately behind them. But he is now saying, which is entitled to say and do, is now saying, Mr. Sibiya, that they, TRT, followed Radebe's vehicle. So the question is allowed.
Please.
If it's true,
What is the response?
Ithini impendulo yakho?
cela ungiphindele umbuzo.
May you please repeat the
I'm
question?
saying that which you are telling this court today was not put to the photograph. Say you are lying. You are not following the car that Hadebe, Sibia, and the photograph, the driver were in. They were followed by members of the TRT.
Uthi lo mbuzo lowo ukuthi lo bekathwebula iy'thombe ubekade elandela imoto yenu awuzange ubuzwe njengoba ikuthi wena uthi imoto bekade ilandelwa abantu be-TRT.
I allow the witness to respond. I just want, my lord, to make sense of what my colleague is submitting before this honorable court. Because if it is put as a version that has been put or challenged when the driver was driving behind the motor vehicle of Colonel Khadem, it has never been put as a version.
no, you are misunderstanding your learned colleague.
Yes. The question, my lord,
Otherwise we're going to waste time.
no.
Mr. Sibande says the photographer testified that after taking photographs inside the office
Yes.
of Khadebe, and after taking photographs when Mr. Sibuya was supposed to get into the vehicle, the grey, here it is, I've got it here. The grey Volkswagen. They subsequently took the photos, then Mr. Sibuya, Khadebe, and the driver of this grey car got into that car, this car.
Yes.
It exited the police premises, and it was immediately, according to the state, it was immediately followed by the photographer's vehicle.
That's correct.
That's it.
That's correct, my lord.
So
But
now
not-
he says, your client says, the TRT police were following the vehicle of Khadebe,
Yes.
in which he was conveyed.
Thank you,
Now
ma'am.
he says it was never disputed.
Yes, my lord. I'm saying that should not be put as a version that was put to the driver of the.
No, it's not being put as a
Yes.
version.
But now, if my lord, a witness is confronted on what is said now, and what was not challenged at that time. At that time, nothing was challenged to the driver or the motor vehicle of the photograph. It's only the evidence that we hear now that Mr. Sibuya is saying he was followed by the TRT.
No,
It has
no.
never been canvassed.
No.
We never contested that the photographer.
I think you're misunderstanding
Yes.
the procedure. When an advocate defends a person, you read all the documents and you say, give me your version. What happened? What happened? And now the assumption, according to Sibande, is that you must have been given instructions that the car which was immediately following Khadebe and the police who was driving it, and with Mr. Sibuya being behind, it was immediately followed by the car of the photographer. That's basically it. And now he says, Mr. Sibanda, he says your client is saying that, sorry, Mr. Sibuya is saying Khadebe's car was immediately followed by the TRT and not by the photographer. That's what is being contested here. Nothing miraculous. Yes, sir. Am I quoting you correctly, sir? Yes, let's proceed, please.
I'm still waiting for the answer because when he was about to prepare an answer, then Mr. Mgomezulu stood up.
Usungaphendula ke Sibuya.
Cela ungiphindele umbuzo.
May you please repeat the question once more?
I'm saying that very important aspect where the photographer testified in court that he immediately followed the vehicle, as it was correctly pointed out by the court, the VW motor vehicle, immediately, not what you are saying in court that you were followed by the members of the TRT. That fact was not put before this court.
uthi umshushisi le ndaba le yokuthi umuntu lo bekathwebula ithombe uyena obekade elandelela imoto lebe nina nihamba ngayo yena uthi wena manje sewuthi imoto yenu beyilandelelwa abantu be-TRT leyo ndaba yokuthi beyilandelelwa abantu be-TRT ayizange ikhulunywe ummeli wakho.
Okay, ngeke ngiphendulele uMgomezulu ukuthi azange ayikhulume ngayikhuluma uyo ngayikhulumela. Mina la engikushoyo kosekatolo i-escort uma ingi-escorta mina, i-escorta mina ihlala emva kwami. Lo muntu wecamera wayenga-escortile mina. Ama-TRT yiwa escorte mina. Obvious abase eduze kwemoto kusuke kukhona khona mina kuyo.
My Lord, I would not speak on behalf of Mr. Mngomezulu. However, when I was escorted, the escort would be behind me. And the escort vehicles that I saw, it was TRT, not the photographer.
Do you recall seeing Mr. Jonathan in this court?
Uye usakhumbula umbona omnumzana uJonathan la enkantolo.
Kosekatolo makhuluma uJonathan khuluma ngamu.
Who is Jonathan?
But you mentioned him, Mr. Sibia, don't be smart. You even mentioned him amongst the people that were in Tembisa, people that assaulted you in Fosloras, people that assaulted you in the Tabong. But now you're asking me which the Jonathan we're talking about.
Uthi ungazama ukudlala ngaye uJonathan wena wamusho ukuthi ukushayile endaweni ethize eLthabong wakushaya wahlangana naye eFosloras uJonathan yena lobo ukhuluma ngaye.
Kosekatolo uJonathan we-traffic cop angambona ela eBoxing.
Yes, I did see the Mr. Jonathan, who is a traffic officer,
Yes.
ITA in court.
He came to this court and he informed this court that on the day in question, he and his colleagues conducted an escort. And amongst the escort was to guard the suspect as well as Colonel Hadeb.
Uthi ke uJonathan uye weza la enkantolo wathi yena namaphoyisa abanye laba asebenza nabo bebakade be-escorta imoto. Isizathu soku-escorta leyo moto beku-escorta umsolwa lo bekaphakathi kuleyo moto no-Colonel Hadeb.
Kosekatolo uJohannes azange ngize ngimbone nge-escorta mina. Abantu abangi-escortayo mangisuke eAlbertine kwakuyi-TRT.
My Lord, I did not see Johannes escorting me. The people that I saw escorting me, it was TRT.
So why was it not disputed when Jonathan was on the witness box that you are lying, Constable Jonathan? You never conducted an escort on that particular date.
Manje kungani uJonathan ngalesikhathi eme la sime khona angazange atshelwe ukuthi Jonathan lento oyikhulumayo amanga lihlaza wena awuzange uescorte umsolwa noHadebe.
Kosekatolo anginalo ilungelo lokuthi umuntu mina uqamba amanga. Ukhona umuntu onelungelo lokuthi la ecourt lo muntu lo uqamba amanga noma cha. Mina engikushoyo la into eyenzeka kimi ukuthi mina kimi yini eyenzeka. uJohannes akunayo indlela ukumphikisa kodwa nje ngingakusho lokho ayikusho akwenzakalanga lendlela asho ngayo. Kodwa ukuthi uqamba amanga akunalo ilungelo lokusho kanjalo.
My Lord, I do not have a right to say to a person who is testifying here in court that those people are lying. There is a person who has those rights, and I cannot say to Johannes, as the witness keeps on repeating the name Johannes, that he was lying, as there was someone who had the rights to inform Johannes that he was lying.
Who has that right?
Ubani onalelo lungelo lokumtshela ukuthi akakhulumi iqiniso?
Hayi ukuthi akakhuluma iqiniso. Kosekatolo ngithi umuntu onelungelo lokubona umuntu onamanga ukhona la ecourt.
Uthi umshushisi ubani?
Kosekatolo nelungelo lokubona ukuthi umuntu unamanga.
It's the court that has the right to see that a person is lying. Inkantolo isangoma.
Ngicabanga ukuthi umsebenzi awufundele uyakwazi ukubona ukuthi umuntu unamanga.
It's just a slight joke.
Yes, the court
Yes,
is
the court
minor.
is. So, when you appeared before court, you were told that you've got a right to a legal representative. You can have your own private legal representative, or you can appoint legal aid, or you can apply for legal aid legally to appoint a legal representative. And your election was to be represented by a legal representative.
ithe uma ufika enkantolo uye watshelwa amalungelo wokuthi unelungelo lokuthi ungaba nommeli uma ungenayo imali wena ungafaka isicelo sokuthi uncedwe ummeli we-legal aid wena wathatha isinqumo sokuthi uzozifunela ummeli wakho
And then you were duly represented by Mr. Ramusipili.
kulaye ukuthi uye wamelwa-ke umnumzana uRamsipili.
And then Mr. Mngomezulu was brought in as well.
Bese-ke umnumzana uMngomezulu walethwa naye.
Bese Katolo ngicela ungicacisele kahle umbuzo ukuthi uma ukhuluma ngokuthi ngeke ngatshelwa kusuka kuphi eBosberg noma la ePitori noma kuphi.
My Lord, when you are referring to me being informed of my rights, can you please explain where were the rights explained? Are you referring to Boksburg or here in Pretoria?
Whether in Boksburg, whether in Tembisa, wherever where you appeared, those rights were explained to you.
Uthi noma kuphi inkantolo ekuthi uye wavela kuyo eThembisa noma eBoksburg lawo uye wavela khona lawo malungelo aye wachazwa.
eBosberg inkosi eKatolo yathi kumele sithole ummeli ngoba ngeke kulunge ukuthi sikhulumele.
In Boksburg, the court told us that we need to get an attorney because we won't be able to represent ourselves.
Will you be able to represent yourself in this court?
Wena ubo ungakwazi ukuthi uzimele kula enkantolo.
Mr. Sibanda, where are you going to with this cross-examination?
My Lord, whenever that I ask him a question, to say this was your instruction to Mr. Mngomezulu, you want to distance himself. And
No, fine, that you can argue that aspect. He's entitled to answer the way he wants to. But if you have problem with that answer, you can argue. Make submissions.
here's the court, please. When you went for the pointing out, who else was present?
Ngalesikhathi uhamba uyokhomba uba nomunye wayekade ekhona.
uHadebe owayethe uHadebe
It was Hadebe who had introduced himself as Hadebe.
laba abanye sengibakhohliwe ibongo zabo noma kade bekhona la sengibakhohliwe ibongo zabo.
And
Abanye
others?
vele ngangingabazi.
And others I had forgotten their surnames, even though they were here
Kube-
in court, but I had forgotten their surnames, and others I did not know them.
kube umhane
There was also Mukhani.
So was Mahane inside that vehicle you were in with Hadebe?
Mukhani wayekade ekule moto lebuhamba nayo no Hadebe.
cha
No.
Where was Mahane?
Ubekade ekuphi yena?
akumazi ukuthi wayehamba ngayiphi imoto.
I do not know which vehicle was he traveling on.
From which distance did you see Mahane?
Umbone ubukude obungakanani?
Angaze ngibone ubude kodwa la uHadebe la ayengikhomba khona ukuthi angikhombe la umhane wasekhona.
I did not see the distance. However, from the point where Hadebe had pointed me that I should point such a place, Mukhani was also there.
Hadebe told this court when he gave his testimony that at the point where you were making such pointing out, it was himself, yourself, as well as the photographer.
Uthi uHadebe yena ukhulume ubufakazi bokuthi ngalesikhathi wena ukhomba kwakade kuHadebe kunawe nalobe kade thwebula ithombe.
Cha akwenzakalanga kanjalo.
That is incorrect. That's not how it happened.
Was that fact put to Kenneth Hadebe?
Leyo nto iye yatshelwa uKenneth Hadebe ukuthi ayenzakalanga kanjalo.
Ngamtshela ummeli ukuthi ayenzakalanga kanjalo.
I told my defense attorney that it did not happen that way.
And the Mahane, was he told that he was part of the pointing out where you were at those points?
umkhane naye uye watshelwa ukuthi mkhane wena wawukade ukhona laphaya ngalesikhathi usibiya eyokhoma.
Ngamtshena ummeli kodwa futhi ngangazi ukuthi nami ngizoza eboxini ngizosho yonke into eyenzakala ngalela langa njengoba injalo.
I had given my attorney an instruction that Mkhane was there. However, I also knew that my chance would come to testify on everything that has happened.
Did you remind your attorney when you gave evidence in chief?
Uye wamkhumbuza ummeli wakho ngalesikhathi uqala wena ukufakaza la
Ngomhana
regarding Mkhane?
Yes.
Yebo.
angimkhumbuzanga
No.
kodwa ngikhumbuza manje ngoba usungibuza nje ila sengikwazi ukuthi ngikhumbuze khona icourt ukuthi kwenzakalani ngalela langa.
No, I did not remind him. However, I am reminding him now as the state is asking me now on what has happened, and I am reminding the court as well.
So in your own explanation, you did not tell this court that Mkhane was there. It's only today when I ask you that you're telling this court.
Ngokwakho ngokuchaza kwakho awuzange utshele inkantolo ukuthi uMkhane wayekade ekhona yinamhlanje kuphela la umshushisi sekakubuza khona ukuthi kwenzakeleni wena la uchaza khona ukuthi uMkhane wayekhona.
Kosekatolo nowecamera akaze ngimusho ukuthi wayekhona.
My lord, even the photographer, I did not mention the photographer.
What are you saying now?
Manje uthini?
Ngithi akaze ngize ngibasho umhane nowecamera akaze ngimusho kodwa isithombe zathathwa umuntu wecamera obvious wayekhona nomhane naye ngoba kwakuye umuntu engangisuke naye eVelaria obvious wayekhona.
I am saying that even the photographer I did not mention, however, is the one that took pictures, and Mkhane was also there, as he is the one that I left Valeria police station with.
You see, with the photographer, I will allow you, because by extension of a logic, someone could have taken those photos. But Mkhane, who earlier in your own testimony assaulted you with Mabena, Ngamane, and the Metro police, as well as the TRT members.
He never said, sorry, my lord, for interjection. Mkhane was not involved in the assault. Just want to clarify.
Yeah. Come, let's go.
It's fine. Mkhane, who is a member of the investigating team, the fact that he was there itself is a problem. We did not mention that.
Uthi nasekuqaleni ngalesikhathi uMkhane lo obekuthi ubekade ephenya kuleli cala. Ngalesikhathi ukhuluma ngokushawa ukuthi ubekade ekhona nangokho angakushayanga kodwa uye wangamusho ukuthi uMkhane naye wayekade ekhona kodwa uchazile ukuthi wayekade ekhona ngalesikhathi ushawa.
Sorry, maybe you're talking at cross purposes. Is it Mokhale or Mokhano?
Mkhane.
Yeah, because two different persons.
Mkhane.
Is the gentleman?
The gentleman that was.
Yeah, just
for this
clarify
court.
that because
It's
I hear
Sergeant
Mokhale
Mokhane.
is the female sergeant.
It's Mkhula, the female sergeant.
Yeah.
So
Is it what?
Mkhane.
It was who?
Mkhane.
Yeah.
Mkhane.
Yeah, it was the big gentleman
Yes.
with the big stomach,
Yes.
right?
I did not hear that.
Like me, like me.
Mkhane. Sergeant Mkhane.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, fine.
Yes.
All right, yeah, as long as it's clarified that.
Sikhuluma ngoMkhane lo wendoda ngithi. Indeed, my lord, we are referring to the gentleman.
Okay, fine.
Yes, if someone who is so involved in this case was present there, and then that fact you did convey to her, then they will have jumped immediately when he took the stand and put it to him.
Uma ingabe umuntu lo obenendima enkulu kangaka kuleli cala yena wayekade ekhona kungani ithema yengena la engazange ebuzwe ummeli wakho ukuthi kuthiwa wena wawukade ukhona.
Ngoba ngila angizele uzophendula umngomezulu kodwa yena ngamtshela ukuthi umhane wayekhona.
As I am here, my lord, I am not here to respond on behalf of Mr. Mngomezulu, but I did give him that instruction that Mkhane was present.
And then you did not feel a need on that day to raise your hand. They said he was present, Mkhane.
Futhi ngalelo langa ngalesikhathi efakaza la uMkhane awuzange ubone isidingo sokuthi uphakamise isandla ukuthi ummeli wakho aze kuwe umtshele ukuthi ungakhohlwa ukuthi wayekade ekhona uMkhane.
Kosekatolo iloya mangitshenile into asike isidingo lokhu nilehlisa ngilenyusa icourt yahlonishwa even namshushisi mayengena ecourt ukhombisa ukuhlonipha angicabanga ukuthi yena unelungelo lokuthi mina kumele ngingahloniphi icourt lokhu ngehlisa ngekisa ummeli.
My Lord, when I have instructed my attorney, there is no need that I should be calling him to and fro. I need to respect the court. Even the state, when it comes to court, it bows to show a sign of respect. Therefore, there is no need for me to be disrespectful to
I
court.
counted from the records. There's over 20 instances where either Mr. Ramusipil or Mr. Mngomezulu, they have to ask the court for permission to approach you, and the court has never denied them that opportunity.
Uthi umshushisi ubalile uma elibele efunda irecord ubonile ukuthi umnumzana uRamsipili noma umnumzana uNgomezulu uze lapha kuwe amahlanda angadlula amashumi amabini kodwa inkantolo ayizange ithi niyangithikazisa aningihloniphi uma nilibele niyahlana inyuka.
Uma ngibabiza ngisuke kukhona engingakaze ngize ngibatshele khona lokho ukuthi umhane wayekhona ngabatshela so sasingesidingo solokhu ngiphinde ngibabiza futhi ngithi mina nangu umhane anikamtsheni ukuthi wayekhona kodwa ngangazi ukuthi sizofika isikhathi sokuthi mina ngize la eboxini ngizochaza konke okwenzakalayo.
When I was calling my defense, my Lord, it was for clarification of issues that I had maybe not told them. However, that part that Mr. Mkhane was there, I did inform them, and I did not see a need that I should re-inform them of that fact that Mr. Mkhane was there, as I knew that there would be a time when I would be coming to testify and clarify that Mkhane was also present.
And that time indeed arrived.
Leso sikhathi sifikile ke sokuthi wena uzosho.
Yingoba ikatolo sengishilo nje ukuthi umhane wayekhona naye lapho.
And that is why I have also stated that Mkhane was present there.
It's called examination in chief.
Logo kushowa ukuthi ngalesikhathi wena uqala uphana ngobufakazi bakho.
Ngoba bengiphana ubufakazi bami ngisho ukuthi amaphoyisa angithatha angisa eFosurus afike angishaya. Mngomezulu uyangibuza kwakungobani ababengishaya ngobani ababekhona. Ngamtshela amaphoyisa angithatha angisa eAlbertine. Ngamtshela ukuthi amaphoyisa angise eAlbertine angimtshela ukuthi kwakungobani nobani ngoba ngase ngishilo. Amaphoyisa aphinda angithatha angisa la angisa khona. So bengingasha amagama amaphoyisa ukuthi ngobani amaphoyisa bengiwahlanganisa onke ukuthi amaphoyisa bengawahlukanisi ngamagama ukuthi leli naleli naleli.
Indeed, during my evidence in chief, I did mention that the police took me to Vosloorus and they assaulted me. That is when Mr. Mngomezulu asked me their names and I mentioned them. And I informed him that they took me to Albertine as well and I was assaulted. However, I did not mention the names at that point, and I was generally stating the police officers that were present.
Ukuba nalapha sesamba ukuthi uMngomezulu wangibuza kwakubani nobani amaphoyisa ayekhona ngangizosho kwakubani nobani.
And if
njengoba nje umshushisi engibuza kwakungubani nobani lesikhathi ngimtshela kwakubani nobani ke manje.
And if Mr. Mngomezulu would have asked me to specify who exactly were those police officers, I would have been able to specify, as the state is asking me now to specify.
Tell me, if I, let's say hypothetically, so I'm not saying I'm going to conclude now. If I was to conclude now and I did not ask you that particular question, will you have volunteered to tell us that piece of evidence?
Asithi mhlawumbe umshushisi nangokho engakaqedi. Asithi mhlawumbe uyaqeda asonge athi usekaqedile ukubuza imibuzo. Lento oqeda ukuyichaza manje wena wawukade uzoyikhuluma enkantolo uthi inkantolo nayi into ebengifuna ukuyikhuluma enye ngicwalisele.
Cha, maye ngekho ngibuzile ukuthi uhlobo lwamaphoyisa ngangeke ngize ngisho mangithi amaphoyisa ngisho bona umhane namaphoyisa ayihamba nabo.
No, I was not going to voluntarily state that, my Lord, as there would have been no one that would have asked me that. And if I were to be asked, then that's when I would specify that Mkhane and others were also there.
So the court will not be in a position to have the full picture of what happened on the date in question to decide this very important question.
Ekuchaza ukuthi ke inkantolo bengeke yazi yonke into eyenzakele ngalelo langa noma ngaleso sikhathi ukuze inkantolo ifikelele kwisinqumo esigcwele. Inkantolo inobufakazi obugcwele.
Inkosi enkantolo ngitshene konke.
I had told the court everything.
namanje umshushisi manje sengangibuza ukuthi lo muntu wayephethe ikhamera enjani kusamele ngiphinde ngisho ukuthi wayephethe ikhamera emnyama kodwa
And-
isidingo sokuthi ngichaze lokho asikho ngoba wayephethe ikhamera wayengishuthi.
And even now, if the state is to ask me on what type of a camera was the photographer holding, I have to explain that he was in possession of a black camera, but because there is no one that is asking me of the type of the camera, then I am not explaining.
Say, those are two different things.
Mr. Sibande, can you make progress, please?
As a court,
You
please.
can argue those points if you believe they are contentious.
Now, let us proceed. After you pointed out those certain points, what happened?
Ngemva kokuthi sowukhombe lezo indawo kwayenzakalani?
Emva kokuba esethe uHadebe angikhombe la athi angikhombe khona bengishutha sike sabuyela eAlbertine futhi.
After Hadebe had instructed me to point at the places where I am supposed to point, they then took pictures of me and we went back to Vosloorus. Utheni buyele Vosloorus.
Albertine.
And we went back to Albertine, my apologies, my lord.
And then upon your return at Albertine, what happened?
Uma nifike Albertine kwayenzakalani?
Angisakhumbuli noma waphinde wangishutha izithombe futhi nakhona masibuya.
I cannot remember whether was I taken pictures once more when we came back.
And then after that you cannot remember what happened.
Ngemva kokuthi ungasakhumbuli okunye kuye kwayenzakalani.
Emva kwalapho bathi asame ngibuyele umhane ngibuyele emotweni yakhe bese ngibuyisela la engisuka khona.
And I was instructed to go back into Mokhane's vehicle and he would take me back to where we came from.
Did he eventually take you back there?
Uye wakubuyisela emuva?
Yebo umhane uyo ngibuyisela eVelaria.
Yes, Mr. Mokhane took me back to Velaria.
And then how did you get to the cells?
Emaseleni uye kanjani?
Umhane uye wangithatha wangivulela eselini wafika wangifaka phakathi waseyavala.
Mokhane took me to the cells, he opened the cell and he placed me inside the cell and he locked.
So he opened the cell himself with the key.
Yena ngokwakhe uye wavula isel ngesikhiya.
Yebo ngisho kanjalo.
That is correct, that is what I am saying.
And then he locked again with the same key.
Wavala futhi ngaso leso sikhiya.
Ngisho kanjalo ukuthi uyavula waphinde wavala.
That is what I am saying, my lord, that he opened and I was placed in the cell and he again locked the cell.
Okay, let us proceed now. Let us go back now, before we wrap up, to the time you were interacting with Colonel Mboto.
Uthasiyeke la bowukhuluma no Colonel Mboto
To the 30th of May 2020.
siye kuyi-30 zika May ngo-2020.
Okay.
Yes, we may proceed.
I asked you this question yesterday, that your interaction with Colonel Mboto, was it 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes? And then your evidence was that it was way lower than that.
Uthi umshushisi ukubuzile izolo ukuthi ukukhuluma kwakho no Colonel Mboto nikhulume mhlawumbe 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 30 minutes wena wathi bekungaphansi kwalokho.
Yebo ngisho kanjalo.
That is correct, that's what I said.
Bengaphezulu kwalokho.
It was above that.
Was it above 30 minutes?
Bekungaphezulu kwa 30 minutes.
Cha anginalwazi.
No, I do not have knowledge of that.
But what you are saying is that it was over 10 minutes.
Kodwa bekungaphezulu ko 10 minutes.
Ukucabanga kwami ngaleso sikhathi ngicabanga kanjalo.
According to my thinking at that period, I think it was more than 10 minutes.
Okay. It was during the peak of COVID at that time, were you wearing a mask?
bekade kuyisikhathi sobhubhane lwe COVID wawukade ufake isifonyo
cha
no
Was Colonel Mboto wearing a mask?
uKenneth Mbotho yena wayekade efake isifonyo
angimkhumbuli.
I cannot recall.
Do you recall his evidence when he said that when he showed you his appointment certificate, you requested that he takes off his mask so that you can see him and then he takes it back? Because it was
Usakhumbula
COVID.
ubufakazi bakhe ukuthi yena uye wathi ngalesikhathi ekubonisa ikariti lakhe lokuthi yena uyiphoyisa wena uye wamcela ukuthi asuse isifonyo sakhe ukuze umbone ukuthi uyafana nalomuntu okulesi kariti leli bese uzokwazi ukuthi abuyisele isifonyo sakhe.
Kusekatola kwenzakalanga kanjalo.
My lord, that is not how it happened.
So again, it was not challenged.
Futhi akuzange kuphikiswe lokho.
Cha mina ngangazi ukuthi ngizoza la ecourt ngizosho ukuthi kwenzakalani.
Ayi.
Ikulumo kaHadebe ngangengize kaMbotho ngangengize ngiphikise yonke inkulumo yakhe ukuthi kanje ngangazi ukuthi mina sizofika isikhathi sokuthi ngize eboxini ngizokhuluma okwenzakalayo.
I knew, my lord, that I would have a chance to come and testify on everything that has happened. I was not going to dispute everything that Mbotho was saying, as I knew that my chance would come to rebut his evidence.
Then you gave your evidence in chief, you did not rebut it.
Uye waphana ngobufakazi bakho ngalesikhathi uqala njengoba wawumela kodwa awuzange ukuphikise lokho kukaMbotho ukuthi akazange akhulume ngendaba yesifo.
Kosekatolo mangizela angizile ukuzophikisa inkulumo kaMbotho ngizosho mina ngendlela okwakwenzekala ngayo kimi.
My lord, as I am here to testify on what happened to me, not to rebut the evidence of Colonel Mbotho.
During cross-examination, Mr. Ramos Sipili put it to Mboto that your interaction with Mboto was less than 10 minutes.
Ngalesikhathi uMnumzana uRamusipili ebuza uKenneth Mbotho imibuzo uye wamtshela ukuthi wena noMbotho nikhulume isikhathi esingaphansi kwemizuzu eyishumi.
Kosekatolo mangitshena uRamsipiti ngithi isikhathi esingaphezulu kwemizuzu eyishumi. Uma engezwanga kahle mina namhlanje la ecourt ngiyayicacisa ukuthi imizuzu engaphezulu kwemizuzu eyishumi.
My lord, when I instructed Mr. Ramusipili, I stated clearly that it was more than 10 minutes. If he did not hear me well, I am clarifying it today that our conversation was more than 10 minutes.
Now let us proceed. So, according to the pro forma that was handed as Exhibit FF, the interview started from 21:45 at least up until 0000, like 12 midnight.
Uthi ke ukuya ngobufakazi leli yaphepha leli beligcwaliswa kubonakala ingathi inkulumo yenu iqale ngo-21:45 quarter to 10 ntambama ukuyofika phakathi kobusuku ngo-12.
Kosekatolo ngangenalo iwashi kodwa akubanga isikhathi eside kangaka kwaba isikhathi esifishane kakhulu ngikhuluma noMbotho.
My lord, even though I did not have a watch, however, it did not take that long when I spoke to Colonel Mbotho.
Thank you. Let's proceed. Let's now slightly go back to the events, parts of the events of the 31st of May 2020.
Uthasiyeke
Partially.
kwingxenye yeindaba ezenzakele nge-31 zika May 2020.
Okay.
Yes, we may proceed.
Of which some of them you cannot recall.
Ekuthi okunye kwakho wena uthe ngeke usakwazi ukukukhumbula.
Yebo kunjalo.
That is correct.
According to the evidence of Mr. Dupree, the vehicle was in the vicinity of Palm Ridge for quite some time.
Ukuya ngobufakazi buka Mnumzana uDupree uthe imoto yayekade ise Palm Ridge isikhashanyana.
Angazi ngeke ngiphikise ubufakazi kaDupree mayesho kanjalo yena.
I do not know. I would not dispute the evidence of Dupree if that's what Dupree said.
And according to the evidence of Mukhola, Sergeant Mukhola, that is where they took you to point a certain gentleman called Zwane.
Ukuya ke ngobufakazi buka Sergeant Mukhola uthi yena kula ukuthi benikade niye khona uyokhomba indoda ethize ebizwa uZwane.
Cha, ukhuluma iphutha ngaze ngihambe ngiyokhomba umuntu mina.
That is incorrect, as I have never went to point out anyone.
Is it that you cannot recall or it never happened?
Kungaba mhlawumbe ukuthi awusakhumbuli noma akuzange kwenzeke enhloko.
Angaze ngikhombe umuntu.
I never pointed anyone.
And then the vehicle left that particular area, it went to Guy Gibson Avenue. According to the evidence of Dupree, that is where the offices of the provincial offices of SAPS are. The office of Brigadier Gininda.
Uthi ke kula ukuthi imoto iyasuka yaya eGuy Gibson Avenue kula ema officeini waka Brigadier Gininda ekhona.
Sorry, which avenue?
It's Guy Gibson,
Guy Gibson.
yes.
Okay.
eGuy Gibson Avenue ema officeini waka Brigadier Gininda.
Nkosi kaTolo namanje ngiyaphinda. Angwazi ama-ofisi awoboGininda. Angwazi angeze ngikhulume ngawo, angwakhumbuli.
My Lord, I am repeating even now that I do not know the offices of Brigadier Gininda, and I cannot testify on the offices as I do not recall them.
But that's where the scientific evidence placed the vehicle in which you were a passenger in.
Kula ikuthi ubufakazi buye bathi imoto lebukade ukuyo iye yabakhona.
Nkosi kaTolo, uma ubanithwa lawo ama-office lawo wakubhaliwe ukuthi indawo eso, mhlawumbe ngangizothi mangifunda mhlawumbe ngibone ukuthi indawo eso engikuyo. Angwazi angakhumbuli lawo ama-office lawo.
My Lord.
Ngoba semotweni anguphiki, angisemotweni. Ukuthi imoto ikuphi angiyazi. Ila okuthanda khona amaphoyisa la afuna ukuya khona ngaleso sikhathi.
My Lord, if perhaps there were writings on the wall of those offices, then I would have perhaps read and saw that we are at such a place. However, I do not dispute that I was in a vehicle.
So since you do not know that particular office, you cannot dispute when I put it to you that you were there.
Manje njengoba ungayazi lelo office, ngeke ukwazi ukuphikisana nomshushiso mayethi wena wawukade ukhona kulelo office.
Nkosi kaTolo, shuthi awukwazi ukungibuza ngento owazi kahle amhlophe uthi angiyazi.
My Lord, it is not possible that I be asked about something that I do not know.
And Sergeant Mahola also gave an explanation as to your presence, as to also what happened in that particular office.
Sergeant Mukhola uye waphana ngengcazelo yokuthi kwenzakeleni ngalesikhathi wena nawe ukhona kuleli office.
Umhola mayekhulume kanjalo, mina akukho la engena khona. Mina kumele ungibuze umbuzo ukuthi ngalolu suku yini engikhumbulayo yini engayikhumbuli. Mangitshela ukuthi angikhumbuli, angikhumbuli.
If that's what Mukhola had said, there is nowhere I feature. Maybe if you could ask me about whether was I there or not and what did I do, then I would be able to respond. Where I recall and where I do not remember, I will also state.
Oh, you featured there, sir. It's wrong to suggest that you do not feature. Because you were there.
Uthi nawe wawukade uyingxenye yalabantu abekade bekhona lapho ngoba bowukhona.
Nkosi kaTolo ngiyaphinda, emontweni ngangikhona. Laba bengisakhona angazi ukuthi kwakuphi.
My Lord, I would repeat that yes, indeed, in the vehicle I was there. However, the places where I was taken to, I do not know.
Mhlawumbe umshushisi angakwenza ukuthi angibuze ukuthi ngakubona nokuthi ngithi ngakubona noma ngikhumbula noma kaze kuze kwenzeke.
Perhaps if the prosecutor could ask me whether did I see such a thing, and I would then be able to respond whether did I see it or not, did it happen or it did not.
Now, let us proceed. After that particular place, you proceeded to Tembisa South, as you put it.
Suka lapho niye naya eThembisa South njengoba uyisho.
Yebo, iThembisa South ngiyakhumbula sekuyo ibhaliwe Thembisa South ngiyabona singena khona.
Yes, I do recall that I did mention Tembisa South, and it was written Tembisa South.
My lord, can you just take a short cooling break? Just for
What's the
10,
time?
15 minutes. It's 20 past 11.
You come back what time?
20 minutes, 15 minutes? Okay, my colleagues suggesting 10 minutes break.
Okay, 15 minutes.